Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, Lore and Frey, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. Bayonetta always liked men. She always liked the cock. She explicitly says this several times. I can't imagine there being a more obviously heterosexual character in anything ever. Like this whole ordeal about this audience of people incels on the internet, like Yuri sisters, right? Like this idea that Bayonetta, that there was ever any real serious debate over Bayonetta being in love with Jean or being into women. Like the fact that this meme became so prominent, had so much like push behind it, was a big reason why the series has been so popular in the past decade, right? The fact that this thing kind of got the traction it did, to the point where I'm seeing like major YouTubers like Wooly and those guys. I don't know who the fuck that is. I think his name is Pat. I just watched a video from like those guys who used to do the Super Best Friends live streams, who are, I hate, by the way. I hate these guys. I hate their fan base. I hate it whenever like people start talking about how good they used to be. Like on 4chan, I hate these guys, right? Even though I've never watched any of their content. But like I've been trying to find like instances of people complaining about Bayonetta 3, right? Trying to see people like talk about things in regards to this game. And first of all, it feels like nobody is talking about the game at all. It does feel like if YouTubers can't like make money off of something, they're not going to talk about it at all. And I think Bayonetta 3 is a really good example of that, in which this is a game that has been universally beloved by fans, is universally been well received, but nobody's really talking about it. You know, like I myself have kind of moved on from it because, you know, I've experienced everything I want to experience with the game. It's good, right? Like I've given it my review. I've moved on to like other things. I've just beaten Sifu, right? I just did my Sifu review. I loved the game. I talked about the game at length, but like it feels like when it comes to like these corporate controlled, you know, career YouTubers, like what they want to talk about is like this alleged controversy that Bayonetta was bisexual, which is ridiculous to begin with, because like first of all, if a woman says she's bisexual, that means straight, right? If she says she's a lesbian, that also means she's straight. Like there are no exceptions to this rule, okay? Like just the whole lesbian thing is a complete and total meme, right? It is the modern day equivalent of like trying to convince people that you're a virgin, right? It's basically just a status symbol for stupid thoughts to try and pretend as if like they have something of value to offer to like the men that they're around, right? That's kind of where we're at when it comes to like the current state of things. And it's why a big reason why like the vast majority of the people who are upset about the Bayonetta, the Bayonetta shipping wars are like straight white men who obviously do not smash, right? You have like this chubby black guy, and you have like this soy boy like bearded cuck, right? That guy. I don't remember his name. Is that the one that like everyone hates? I don't know my Super Best Friends lore, but you have these guys, right, trying to convince you, the gamer, that the ending is bad. Like the ending of Bayonetta 3 is offensively bad and ruins the entire experience because Bayonetta ends up with Luca and not Jean. And that's kind of a ridiculous thing to kind of claim because, first of all, you know, I've talked about this before. Bayonetta has never been a story-centric franchise. Like the writing has never been all that good. It's always been kind of nonsensical. It's always been kind of ridiculous. And the sudden push to like kind of pretend otherwise, that like the ending to 3 kind of makes the entire thing jump the shark, is ridiculous. I especially love this idea among these people that like the fact that Bayonetta is dead in 3 means that she won't come back in 4. You know, like considering 2 was all about like bringing Jean back, and considering some lore implications with 3, with like how there are different versions of Madame Butterfly, which seems to imply who's also like, you can look at the bios, like Madame Butterfly and Bayonetta are about the same age, coincidentally, which seems to indicate that like you know, my theory right now is that they're actually the same person. But we'll have to see like we'll have to see like where that like goes in the future. We actually don't know a lot about like where Platinum is going with like the story for these games. They seem to be setting up a prequel actually with like the storybook thing and stuff like that. You know, they're already like thinking about like new upcoming Bayonetta projects that don't feature Viola as the protagonist. Like again, there are things you can talk about when it comes to the ending of Bayonetta 3. Like there are things that don't make a lot of sense, but like you know, that's all of the games. Like they're all like that. Like I had a similar problem with 2 with like all these characters that did not need to be there, all right? Like I don't think 2 was the game in which like you should go back in time and like hang out with your mom in Vigrid. If anything, considering like the concept of 3, I think it should probably have happened here, right? But 3 is like there is a very very big push to kind of present this narrative that like Jean and Bayo was like a confirmed thing by the developers, but that isn't true. Like there was no evidence for it. There was never indication of that. Bayonetta explicitly states several times that she likes men. You know, she has more flirtatious dialogue with Luca. Like you can kind of tell like what Bayonetta and Jean's relationship is like just by watching them in the cutscenes, right? They are best friends by the end of Bayonetta 1, right? Like, of course, they had like their rivalry when they were, you know, younger and stuff like that, and like they fought over like the eyes of the world or whatever. But their relationship was clearly defined from the beginning, and this whole narrative that like Bayo Jean was ever viable came from a bunch of people who fetishize lesbians, who don't actually play the games or who actually care about the relationships of these characters. Because I would have told you that although I don't really like it because of like implications and because like it just wasn't very well handled anyway, like I would have told you like the most likely person in the series to be with Bayonetta was Luca, and that turned out to be the case, right? I was completely 100% on the ball on that. However, like I kind of maintain like my stance is that they never should have like made it canon, and they should have just like implied it and stuff like that. But I am happy that it did happen, because at the very least we get to see like Bayo Jean fans get Yuri sisters get blown the fuck out. It's embarrassing that this farce continued as long as it did. It really is like there are so many examples of this now, you know, where like a lot of like these fan theories take off on Tumblr or whatever and are kind of like taken as gospel among certain people and taken dead seriously. But like none of them are actually true, right? Like I think a good example of this behavior is probably a really good recent example is Silent Hill 2, and like that Shizo fan theory community that's been propping up around that game, right? How a lot of people will like pretend the game is about a lot more than it actually is in order to get clicks and views, right? But then like the creators have like come out like against a lot of these ridiculous fan theories, right? Because like obviously like doors don't represent like James' repressed like sexuality or whatever they're trying to say, right? Right, like Silent Hill 2, there are like very real plot elements you can kind of talk about when it comes to the game. The game does respect your intelligence. That's one of the things I really appreciated about it, actually, having recently played a little bit of it myself. I still haven't finished it yet, but like, you know, there are things to talk about when it comes to Silent Hill 2, but I think those things have been discussed to death, and now the community online has kind of resorted to like straight up making stuff up. You know, like I think Bayonetta, like that audience is doing the same thing with like Bayonetta and her relationships with these Nintendo characters and their relationships, right? Like I think a lot of this stuff that's taken as like canon, like among online fans, has no basis in reality. And this is a really, really good example of that. This is an example of something that had like no canon backing whatsoever. You can't even really argue that like Bayonetta is bisexual, and especially not Jean. Like we really don't see a lot of Jean in these games, but when we do, like we after 3, we now know what kind of guy she goes for. She likes the evil scientist type. You know, that's the kind of guy Jean goes for. Like Bayonetta likes her like meek, I don't know, like adventurous, like cheeky, like 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 Luca types, you know, those dorks. She likes those kind of people. And, you know, honestly, seeing their interactions with 3, seeing them how they handle it, like, I am becoming a fan of the ship. Like, I understand why Bayonetta actually likes him as a person for who he is. And this is like a scary thing for like SJWs, right? This is a scary thing for incels, for MGTOW. Is like a big thing that they always try to tell you is that like women don't have souls, they don't have like feelings, they only care about status, about wealth, about like acquiring resources. You can like tune into like a MGTOW stream and like have Drexel like shout at you about that like all day long. But like it's not really true, is it? People have like preferences. They like being around certain kinds of people. And like in Bayonetta's case, like Luca is exactly what she needs in her ordinary everyday life when she's not out fighting angels or whatever. And it works. It really does work. I really do appreciate that about the series, is that it was able to commit to what it set out to do with these characters to begin with, without like caving to fan pressure the way that like Korra did, or the way Adventure Time did, or the way that like a Western developer would have. Like they understood what they wanted to do with the character, and they demonstrated that to the bitter end. And considering Kamiya's attitude regarding the situation, considering some choice tweets I've seen about this isn't going to change. This is something that I think is very, very important to the characters and their relationships. And I'm sure the creative team like have no real desire to change things up, or to ruin what they've done here. And I honestly, this situation, alongside the game itself, it really does make me feel like there might be hope for Platinum Games. We might actually be getting a redemption arc. I'll be making videos about this soon, but like, I think that like the gaming media came after Platinum Games really hard with Bayonetta 3. They tried downplaying it. They tried like ruining everyone's fun. They tried like pulling all sorts of stunts. But at the end of the day, Bayonetta 3 was still a great game, no matter what people like these YouTubers try to say about the ending.